Okay, so this is the first time I've done a video that I've actually really worked at. Usually I just kind of do it off the cuff, winging it. That's how I do a lot of things, and I've actually taken the time to write some things down. So, to give you guys kind of my origin story. So, my backstory is I loved herbs and plants from a young age. Where most girls are playing with dolls, I would be out tromping through the woods. And I knew a lot of the herbs in the area. I didn't know that they had anything special about them. I just could recognize them. And actually, I kind of knew some of the Latin names of them because back then we had libraries and I would get books on plants and learn the names. Um, I loved the smell of oils and herbs, but I had no clue that they actually had healing properties to them. I just enjoyed the fragrance and was always mixing different sprays and body products and things when I was little. Um, I have had nearly 20 different jobs over the course of my career, most of them in sales. I hated most of them, but I was good at sales, so that's what I did. I stayed at home with my youngest child. He is now 10. So this all happened about 10 years ago. And we needed more income to survive. It was just one of those things where we couldn't deal with just having one income anymore. We got to a point where we had to move. My in-laws had inherited a farm, and so we actually moved to the farmhouse that was there. And we just, we were paying mortgages with credit cards up to that point, so we just couldn't do that anymore. And then when we moved up to our house currently, we couldn't even pay rent. We were just so far behind and owed them so much money because they were helping us out. I really hated the idea of returning back to work. I hated the idea of going back into sales. I hated working weekends. I hated working nights, and I knew as my children got older, I didn't want to miss out on all the different things that they were going to be doing. So I really hated that idea, but I knew something had to happen. So I'm just turning the page because I had written some stuff down. We were really just in some financial trouble. Something needed to change. On one of my walks outside, remember, I like being outside, there was a weed in our yard that I didn't recognize. And, I thought I kind of knew most of the weeds. We had moved about an hour and a half away, so I know geographically herbs can change in their appearance. So I researched it and I found out it was something called chickweed, and it was growing in our yard prolifically. And found out that most gardeners hated it, but what they didn't know was that you can make a salve with it, and it would actually heal and reduce and would soothe like hives and itchy rashes and things, which is something I was suffering with because at the time I was gardening a lot and I had very sensitive skin, and every time I would mess with the plants and everything, I would come in and even though I'd wash my hands, they would just be itchy and red and bumpy, and found out this salve would actually help with that. So I made it, just used a recipe I found online, picked it right out of my yard, made it in the oven, and added some beeswax. My friend actually had bees, so she was able to give me the beeswax. So really the only thing I had to pay for was the oil that I used to make it. First time I tried it, I was blown away. I could not believe how it just stopped the itching and relieved the irritation. It was just an instant miraculous thing. And it was just kind of like this idea came to me. Wow, if herbs can do this kind of stuff, what else can I make? What other herbs or plants growing in my yard can I do things with? And then it occurred to me, hey, maybe I could make some sort of income with this. So I was always independent and wanting to make money on my own, but never had anything that actually worked. I'd done direct sales and things like that, and it never worked. So I was always looking for the next thing, and I thought, hey, maybe I can do something with this. So meanwhile, in the back of my head, still thinking I was going to have to go back to work. And we actually were kind of shopping at a local farm shop, and I noticed that she had all this stuff in there from these local people that they were making, and I remember thinking to myself, hey, I wonder if I could put some stuff in here. And just it was a thought in my head that it was a seed, And then another time we were out driving around and we went to another local shop and actually spoke with somebody. My husband kind of forced me into it and just said, hey, I've been making these herbal salves. Is that something you'd want to sell here? And they said, no, we don't want to do anything that's not edible, because they had bulk, flowers and vegetables and things like that. And they said, do you do tea? Now, I didn't know the first thing about tea. I knew Lipton and that was about it. And I remember thinking to myself, no, but I can learn. So we took it upon ourselves to figure some things out. I actually had the gumption to go ask the other shop if she would let me put some things in there. And she said, yes, give me some samples and let me see. And so now I had 2 shops lined up. I was thinking, I need to get some stuff together. And so I actually took a couple of months to figure out my packaging and my recipes. And my husband said, okay, you have $200 and that's it. Now, at the time, $200 was basically our monthly groceries. So we were taking food out of our mouths literally to start this business. So I said, okay. And it was really tough trying to figure out how to make it all work just for $200. Packaging, components, labels, all of that stuff. I had to get it all for that. So I did it. I ordered. Meanwhile, my friend said, hey, I'm doing this little craft show. Can you share a booth with me? And I was like scared to death, but I thought, hey, if she's going to do it with me, I'll do it, So meanwhile, I'm waiting for my stuff to come. Long story short, it didn't come in time. I was devastated because, I had all this stuff and I was going to sell it at the shows, getting all excited, and the packaging didn't come in time. So I was kind of devastated by that. So finally came in, got everything together, went to the shop that said they wanted tea. Walked in there and told him, hey, I talked to you before about selling teas in the shop. And he said, oh no, I'm sorry. We talked to the owner, but we decided not to do that. And I walked out of there and I was devastated, because I'm sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, we just took a whole month's worth of groceries. I took all that money to make this thing and then they don't even want it. What am I going to do? And I missed the show. So I'm just like racking my head, and I was near tears. And I remember driving down the road thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And earlier that day I had sent an email to the other shop because she was in the area too. I was going to stop by her place too, and I didn't even feel like going there. I was just so devastated. I thought, oh, well, man, if she doesn't want this stuff either, I don't know if I can take rejection twice. That's going to be really devastating. So I remember I walked in with this little cardboard box, and it had, everything I had made in it. And I brought it in, and she took one look at it and said, I'll buy all of it. And I was like, wow. And wrote me a check for $173. And I was so ecstatic. I was so over the moon, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I almost made all my money back. My husband's not going to kill me. And then the funny thing is, I went home and I read my emails. I had not read it that day, but I had emailed her and said that I was coming. And she had said, okay, I'll take one of this, one of that, which really, if you would have tallied it up, it would have been like $20 worth of stuff. And so I'm so glad I didn't read that email, because I would have been really devastated. And I'm glad I just took everything in. I took a chance and I just took it all in, and she bought everything. So that was 10 years ago. Fast forward now, we have about 300 shows under our belt. We have wholesale, online. But, the thing that really floored me was the desire that people have for my products. I never really thought that they would be this popular. It was something that I've always been excited about herbs, and I never really knew about their healing properties, but I just loved herbs. To this day, I love them. One of the things I love about them is it's really hard to kill them. I'm not the best gardener, so herbs are a little bit, like weeds, in the fact that they are really hard to kill. But, it just really amazes me today. I still get people that thank me, for making products, and I'm always floored by it, because, it's really not me. I didn't really do anything. I'm just taking the herbs that are already there. Their inherent value is already there, and I'm just putting them in a place where people can get them easily. So, it's not like I'm really making anything. I'm just kind of putting it together. So it still really floors me how much people really need our products and love our products. So anyway, that's how I got started. And that was really long and drawn out. But, you know, it's one of those things that I've come to a realization that if you really love something and you put your effort into it and you figure it out and take the time to really do it right, it will pay off and you'll find your thing. All of my past experiences, remember I said I've worked about 20 jobs. I can look back now and see how most of those jobs were lining me up for this point in my life. You know, I didn't know it at the time and I hated most of those jobs at the time, but I was gaining skills that I needed for today. So don't give up. And, you know, please just realize that if you keep going, you will find it. Just be open. And sometimes it comes, you know, out of a really financial hardship. And, you know, I look back now and I realize if we had not gone through that, I would have never moved to this farm. I would have never seen that herb. I would have never made that salve. You know, all of these things that happened to get me here. But, you know, I would never want to relive that part of my life again. That was, you know, a horrible time and very stressful. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to give you that encouragement. And, you know, some of you don't really know me that well and you don't know my backstory. So I just kind of wanted to put it out there. And I'm really sorry this took so long. So thanks. And if you have any more questions, feel free to email me. Bye.